Thursday night, and you're in the library cramming for that big public speaking exam the next day. All of a sudden, a group of students walk by, talking as loudly as they possibly can. You'll hope that they'll move along, but no. They pick a table just a few feet away from where you're studying, sit down, and continue their conversation about that crazy party last night. By the end of your session, you can't remember the difference between Monroe's motivated sequence and the negative methods pattern, although you are now way too familiar with all those students' intimate lives. This scenario is unfortunately way too common in our libraries here at Worcester, particularly the Andrews Galt Library. Though many of us have had the golden rule of silence in the library ingrained into our being since elementary school, it seems that many college students have either forgotten or chosen to ignore this vital rule. As a result, we've turned our libraries into what they are not, places for socializing. The primary purpose of our libraries is to aid students in their academic work, but we're corrupting this idea through a lack of courtesy to others. Because of its detrimental effects on students' academic performance, I'm advocating that disruptive behavior in the library should be controlled more strictly. In my speech, I will tell you exactly why this is a problem here at Worcester. Then I will give you a solution for it and tell you how the solution will benefit students across the board. Finally, I will tell you what you can do to help support these new policies. Disruptive behavior in the library is a frequent occurrence that negatively affects students' academic performance. There are several different types of disruptive behavior. First of all, there were students who were engaging in loud and inappropriate conversations in the library. In an in-person interview with Emily Corwin on April 4th, she related to me an event she witnessed where several drunk seniors on IS Monday got into a fight with another senior who was trying to finish her IS. In addition, disruptive behavior is also coming from students who are talking on cell phones in the library. Grace Miller, in an in-person interview on April 4th, told me how her studying was interrupted one time by a student who received a phone call and continued an extended conversation with the person on the other end, all while in the library, mind you. Third, distracting behavior is also coming from groups of students working together in areas not designated for group studying. Adrienne James, in an interview on April 4th, told me how she's often had to deal with this problem in the library and how it's negatively impacted her work. And finally, disruptive behavior is also coming from staff workers. In my own experience, I've had to ask staff workers several times to quiet their conversations because it's been distracting me as they work. Now, these distractions cause several consequences. First of all, they're a breach of proper etiquette. According to Emily Post, the first rule in the library is simply, do not talk. However, there are more serious consequences than a simple breach in etiquette. Disruptive behavior in the library also negatively affects students' academic performance. In an article in the Daily Mail Online from August 5, 2010, it was found that changes in background noises were detrimental to remembering material. So what does this mean for you as a student here at Worcester? Well, this violation in etiquette translates into a violation of our Scots Key. The Scots Key promises, and I quote, an environment conducive to academic achievement for every student here at Worcester. However, by being distracting in the library, we're not letting students work to their full potential, and as such, violating this code. In addition, distracting behavior in the library impedes your ability to learn, and as such, will hurt your grades. Though this is a serious problem, I propose that it can be solved by making it clear what the standards of etiquette in the library are, and then holding students to that standard. Now, the first part of the solution is, of course, to make it clear what is expected of students when they're working in the library. Now, I propose we come at this in 3 ways. First of all, we should target prospective students by posting the rules of conduct for the library on the campus website. In addition, we can target new students by reiterating these rules in FYS and freshman orientation classes. And then third, we can target current students by raising campus awareness. I propose that we do this through a slogan contest. In these slogans, the rules of the library would be identified, and then the winners could be hung throughout the library. Here's an example of what I think a good slogan would be. What I really like about this is that it's heavily image-based, and it catches your eye right away. I don't know if any of you remember when the core research first opened, there was this picture of Ryan Gosling on the first floor side of Galt Libraries. Every time I was in the library, I would stop and look at that picture. Well, it is Ryan Gosling, so I guess that's part of the reason. But it caught my eye, and it made me want to read what was on the paper. So this brings me to the second part of my solution, which builds off the first. As I said, I think the slogan winners should be hung throughout the library, particularly in places that are frequently trafficked, like working spaces, desks, chairs, tables, etc. In addition, I think student staff workers should be trained in how to handle disruptive behavior in the library. This would combat the problem in two ways. First of all, it would make it clear to staff workers that it's not okay for them to have loud conversations in the library. And second of all, it would create a pair of eyes and ears to help monitor student behavior in the library. And then the final part of my solution is a system of consequences for students who are continuously disruptive. Personally, I like the 3 strikes program. Your first 2 strikes, you simply get a warning, but on the third one you would be asked to leave the library for the remainder of the day. In doing this, we would make it clear to students who are continuously disruptive that their behavior is not okay. However, this is not as extreme as a semester or even a week-long ban. Now, my solution will solve this problem in several ways. First of all, it will curb unreasonable noise levels by informing students upfront what is expected of them when they're working in the library. In addition, it will motivate students to pay attention to their behavior by raising campus awareness about the problem. Third, by having student staff members work as eyes and ears in the library, we'll be able to monitor student behavior more closely. And then finally, by creating a system of consequences, we'll entice students to pay closer attention to their behavior in the library. Now, I know my solution will work because it worked for the West Palm Beach Public Library. According to an article in the Palm Beach Post on September 8, 2009, librarians were dealing with frequent disruptive behavior from their patrons. In order to combat this, they implemented a stricter standard of rules for the library. As a result, libraries found no significant increase in disruptive behavior from their users. This illustrates that users were responding accordingly to the new rules. Now, at this point in my speech, you might have some questions about my topic or my solution, so I'd like to address those now. First of all, you might be thinking, well, if you want someplace quiet to study, why not just go to Timken Library? Well, I love Timken Library, but there's several reasons why I don't study there. First of all, it's not as big as Andrews and Galt, so you won't be able to hold all the people who want a quiet place to study. In addition, it's a science library, so it doesn't have the resources for social science or humanities students. In addition, you might also be thinking that my comparison to the West Palm Beach Public Library isn't a very accurate one because it's not an academic library. Well, due to the economy, many more people have been using this library, and as a result, they've had to deal with problems very similar to ours. People talking in the library, cell phones, things like that. So the comparison does work. Now, I'd like you to take a minute and visualize what would happen if my plan were implemented. Every time you walk into Andrews and Galt, it's as quiet as Timken. As a result, your efficiency as a student increases, and so does your GPA. Now, what would happen if there was no change? Well, that's just it. Nothing would change. And though this might not affect you right now, come senior year, when you're constantly in the library, and trust me, you will constantly be in the library, the environment that you're working in will have a serious effect on the work that you're able to get done. Throughout my speech, you have heard why disruptive behavior in the library is a serious problem here at Worcester, how it negatively affects students' academic performance, and how it's a serious breach of etiquette. In addition, you've also heard a solution to this problem, how making it clear what the standards of etiquette are and then enforcing those standards would help curb unreasonable noise levels. Finally, you've also heard how this solution will benefit students across the board. But in the meantime, there are a few things that you can do to help support these new policies. The easiest is simply monitor your own behavior when you're in the library. If you need to have a conversation with someone, take it outside. If you're working in a group, make sure it's in the core or in a group study room. But above all, remember that how you act in the library affects those around you. You wouldn't want someone screwing with your grades, so don't do it to someone else. Libraries are a staple learning component of a college environment. So let's honor Worcester's commitment to academic excellence by making our libraries as efficient for their users as possible. Questions? Yes, Adriana.
What would be your suggestion about the core, especially because the middle of that library is specifically used for conversation, regardless of the topic?
I would do about the core library. Well, there's really no way that you can restrict conversations in that. So I guess you could curb noise levels by making sure it doesn't get too out of control and that people are talking about academically related things, you know, and not just in there just to goof around. You know what I mean? So that would be my suggestion. Petey?
What would you say towards those who like background noise? Because I know a lot of students don't like it, but it's typically because it is too quiet. They like that background noise that they have, and it just don't library.
Okay, I was asked what I would do about students who like the background noise. Well, I mean, there's several other places on campus that you can study. You can go to Lowry Pit. I mean, that's always loud in Lowry. You can go to your dorm. There's usually going to be music going on in there. And if you really want to study with other people, there are rooms that are designated for that. It's just the problem is groups of people studying in like the third floor or in the lower level. And for me personally, I don't like background noise while I'm working. And that's really distracting to me, students who are carrying on conversations. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah. What would you suggest for people who are studying in group or whatnot, and as many of the time I've gone to the library and like the group study sessions at the tables, like in the core are taken.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times people will go downstairs or on the third floor.
Okay. Yeah, I was asked for group study, like where else you could study if the rooms are taken. Well, as I just said, you know, you can go to Lowry Pit. I mean, a lot of people don't think about that, and people's dorm rooms and whatnot. There are other places on campus besides going to the other levels of Andrews and Galt. Yes.
I noticed that there are signs on the Galt side of the library on the tables that say quiet, and I find those very unfriendly personally. But that's one of the recommendations you have is to have apparently more signs like that. Are you thinking that, are those signs not effective, or you want those signs to be more attractive, or apparently you do not find them to be an unfriendly indication as I do? Can you comment on the signs we currently have?
Okay, well, I was asked about the signs. Personally, as I mentioned, I feel like if you use lots of pictures and like the Ryan Gosling picture or the one that I showed, it's not as unfriendly, it's more attention grabbing. It makes people want to look at it. What's there right now is all just words, and I don't know, for me that kind of like loses its effect because it's a bunch of words, you really don't want to look at it and read what it has to say. Yes?
You've suggested that you use student workers as monitors for this type of behavior. Well, most of our students, our public services places staffed by student workers are in the perimeter of the core. So their visualization and their auditory perception of noise around them is going to be in a place that's designated for those collaborative kind of conversational situations. So how do you suggest we use that as a monitor outside of those areas?
Okay, I was asked how student staff workers can be used as a monitor. Well, I was thinking student shelters. I mean, they're constantly wandering through the library. I see them all the time. If they see distracting behavior going on, they can just tap on the person, hey, quiet your conversation down, or take it outside.
Cool.
Anyone else?
All right.
Okay.